Live yet, Scott? Oh, just a sec. It says live. Here. Oh, okay. We're already late, but I'm going to turn this around so that Dick Christie can. Facebook Live. I could have you all on there. Scott Carr.
I prefer you did.
Who invited this
Carolyn
guy?
and Dick Christie here.
Y'all want to step
Okay.
on in a little closer here?
You're okay. You're ready to go.
Welcome to RDP's first mobile session. We're going to talk about the RDP Fenton dryers. In 2015, RDP, who's always been known for lime stabilization, bought the Fenton Dryer Company. In part, necessity is the mother of invention. Lime stabilization is not what it used to be. It's very much out of vogue, and dryers are becoming much more popular. We had an opportunity to acquire the Fenton dryer, and I was very pleased to do that because I think a lot of their dryer. Basically, what Fenton has is a batch dryer. You have a wide spot in the line here with a sludge hopper. Comes into the batch dryer, and when the batch is done, discharges into an inclined screw conveyor, and you're a Class A product. So this is a 3D animation that explains how the batch drying system functions. So say with the drum here, the dehydration chamber is a batch unit. So typically we're running off of a belt press or a centrifuge cake that's coming off, say, 8 hours a day. We'll come into a large sludge hopper, which will hold a day's worth of cake. Typically that'll take 8 to 12 hours to run it through the dryer. In some cases that could be 24 hours. In any event, there's a wide spot in the line. The dryer is heated by taking natural gas or biogas and heating up a thermal fluid. We get that thermal fluid to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. When the discs are at 450 degrees Fahrenheit and they're in contact with the sludge, you'll get the sludge temperature up to the point of about 210 degrees. When you're above 200, you start to see the evaporation rate take off. You get to 210, 212, and that's where you want to be. So what Fenton does is they have these rotating discs, and they rotate, say, 2, 3, 4 minutes in one direction, and then the same in the opposite direction. We have paddles, and there's cutouts, and the cutouts were one of the ingenious things of their design. This enabled the flow to even out across the length of the drum. Because of the cutout, it gave the solids somewhere to go. In this case, the dry solids act as a fluid. And with those cutouts, we had a good uniform mixing, and we got good mixing of the sludge cake. So when you're coming off your evaporating water, we use a water spray to treat the odors, but also a lot of it is we want to get the dust out of the airstream before it gets into the ducts. All you really need is water in order to do that. Then we come out, your product's 200 and something degrees, we put it in an inclined screw and they water jacket that with effluent to try to cool it. In my opinion, over 38 years of doing this, people see odors. If you've got steam coming off, it's an odor, right? The less steam you have, the less odors you got. It's just a better thing. Water's free, so we cool to the extent we do. So that's the basic batch drying process. Fenton's the only one that has a batch dryer. The hallmarks of these that I like, they're clean. When we put them on load cells, they're accurate. It is the simplest dryer on the market. It's also fair to say that it's oriented towards the smaller plants. That helps us keep it simple, but it's a fact it's the simplest, and because of that, it's probably the easiest to maintain relative to a dryer. Dryers are not the easiest things to maintain, but this is a relatively easy dryer to maintain. One of the things that RDP added to it, which is now why we call it the RDP Fenton drying system, is we put the whole thing on load cells. This gives us a wealth of information that enables us to program it and basically tweak the heck out of the operations of the system, because the load cells tell us what's going on inside that drum at any point in time.
Types of things would you adjust based on what information you're getting from that load cell?
Well, we changed the whole way the operating system.
Right.
So in the beginning, on the batch mode, you fill it up, you run it empty. Do another batch, fill it up, run it empty. What I saw was, as you're processing the batch, I'm watching my evaporation rate go boing, right? Why is that? I got less steel, hot steel in contact with sludge. We put it on load cells that enabled us to evaporate, say, 2,000 pounds, put 2,000 pounds of cake in, evaporate 2,000, and we keep topping it off and topping it off. And then at some point, we're going to empty it. But we're not going to let it empty all the way because I don't want to lose the heat that's in that drum. On the batch, it would be like 210 degrees in that drum. You empty the drum, it goes down to like 180. So I got to start way back at 180 and start climbing my way up that hill again. So if I don't empty it all the way, I never fall down the slippery slope and I stay hot. So what it's done is it enabled us to increase the efficiency, more hot steel. I haven't quantified that, but theoretically I can only be doing that. I have to be. So here's the curve. This is WEF's version of the curve. This is your warm-up, your constant rate. When you're at 210, 212, that's where you want to be. But then as the batch progresses, it gets harder and harder to get the water out. That's your falling rate. So what I want to do, I want to stay at the constant rate for as long as possible. And when we discharge, I do not want to go through this warm-up phase again. That's a waste of energy. All right, so the advantages of the batch drying system. It enables the batch times to be lengthened or shortened depending on the biological and dewatering characteristics of your sludge at that time. Winter's frequently different than summer, different this, different that. You can accommodate changes, and you know where you are on that batch. If your batch, you've got a problem with the batch, you don't have to discharge a batch of non-Class A. You know where you are, you can deal with it before it comes out. Load cells provide a lot of data, because you're going to know where you are because of the load cells. The enclosed drum keeps everything neat and clean. The biggest issue, I think, with drums, or the Achilles heel of dryers, has been dust and dust-related issues. The key to dust is keep it contained and controlled. This is a relatively sealed system. And as I say, what I liked about Fenton was they were clean, they were accurate, they're simple, and they're easy to maintain. Next slide. The only problem with the Fenton dryer, like all dryers, when you get to 90%, it's dust and dust-related issues. So, falling back on our experience in pasteurization, I thought there's an improvement here. We could make a better dryer if we combine some of the aspects of pasteurization with drying, which is our enhanced pasteurization. This is we have a plant in Morehead City, North Carolina, that's been in for several years. My slogan for this is from dust, this is a relatively dry product, to dirt and everything in between. This is a lower concentration. The next thing you're going to see, it's more black. In this case, this was about 60% solids. So still a dry, friable, crumbly product, threefold volume reduction, and it's 60% solids. The only way I can do that is I have to have some other vector attraction reduction option. Coming from our background with lime stabilization, I'm like, let's go with lime. Lime is simple. In the Carolinas, Pennsylvania area, soils need a little bit of lime. In this area, Pacific Northwest, they need a little bit of lime. So it was a good place to introduce that product line specific to certain soil types. At the end of the day, we're trying to make a product, and we're going way beyond the regulations. I want to make a product that can be used within the community, and that's where we're taking things with the dryer. So going back to the batch flow sheet with your dryer, sludge hopper, batch dryer, into a screw conveyor, goes into a truck, product's done.
When do you add the lime, when you do the lime?
So when we switch to the enhanced pasteurization mode, all we do, we put the lime in, but we put it into the screw conveyor feeding the drum. The screw kind of mixes it, then it's in the drum for 2 hours, going round and round and round. It's going to be mixed. But it's in there for a couple of hours, and then you come out, and by doing that, then I no longer have to go to 75 or 90%. Yes. Fine. All right, because of the load cells again, and the way we're running, next slide, it enables me to dial in the final product concentration. So this is a WEF chart. So what they're saying here, that for dryers, you're going to be in the plastic stage from 40% solids to 60%. My experience has been that we can make a friable product at about 50-55%, up to 60-65. Varies a little bit sludge to sludge, but 55-60 is going to get you a nice looking product that has threefold volume reduction, so you got that benefit of the dryer without having the Achilles heel problem of dust. I think that pasteurization has some subtle advantages in the connotation that it has. People are familiar with pasteurizing milk, pasteurizing orange juice, pasteurizing tomato juice, and people would generally accept that as, this is safe. Another thing that I've learned in my 38 years of doing this from Danny Hall, he said, bring people into the plant. If people are interested in the biosolids, bring them into the plant, take them from the headworks all the way through the whole plant and end up at the lab. Show them what kind of testing you do to ensure that you meet the standards. Show them all the reports you go through. And Danny said, you get them, you take them through this tour, you explain what you're doing, they're going to feel comfortable that you've got a safe product. And what you hear is, I never knew this was back here. I didn't know what happened when I flushed the toilet. This is good, I feel comfortable with it. But the key point is, get them into the plant, show them what you're doing, and then you will make them feel comfortable, they'll try it. Then from there, you still got an uphill battle, but they will be more receptive to try the product if they understand what went into making this product. So one of the things that's good about lime is that it helps with the uptake of nutrients. When you get your soil pH right, you get more uptake of nutrients. You're going to get more bang from your fertilizer with the soil pH right. And you can see that. This is a picture of my front yard. I took and I put sod down, but before I did that, on this side I mixed Class A biosolids, lime amended, with compost to bring the pH down. That also helped me hold more water in the soil. This was just sod with both sprinklers were on the same time. You can definitely see that the grass is greener on the biosolid side of the sidewalk, and every one of my neighbors can see it, and it's kind of good, cool. So if there's one thing that you take away from this presentation, well, we did this. In Morehead City, I asked the Director of Public Works, what do you think is a sustainable community? What's that mean to you? He said a sustainable community is one that can take care of itself without the need of outside third parties. And I go, you know what? That is spot on. You can take care of your own stuff. You are sustainable. The other thing he said is you got to keep one eye on the bottom line, the economics of today, and one eye on the future, a future that's going to hold increased regulations and increased public scrutiny on biosolids. So I think with that statement, that would lead you to erring on the side of making sure you do everything right. Everything's by the book, because people are going to take a closer and closer look at it. So at the end of the day, if you take away one thing from this presentation, I would like it to be that sometimes a little bit of lime can be a good thing.
Hey, what's the material of construction for your